Welcome to my first ever Let's Play video. My name is Jude from the Fantasy Strike forums, as well as a variety of other places online, as well as real life. This is my first ever Let's Play video. I'm actually going to turn it into a Let's Commentary series, and hopefully other members of forums will fill in the rest of the levels, and I don't have to do it all myself. This is the intro here. You can see, if you look at the reflection, the castle has a reflection, and the island does not. Which is interesting, but I guess it's a magic castle, so it can do things like that. This is Castlevania on the 64, as we will see in just a minute. Also, let me apologize for this little sound desync right here. The violin starts playing, and we don't hear any violin until about right now. But that's just a emulator issue, not actually in the game. If I had a way to plug a 64 into my computer, you wouldn't have had to experience that, but I don't, so you do. It only happens a few times in the game, and it's not really an issue, so. On the plus side, you do get higher res textures, which look nice, and do nothing to stop the low polygon rate that most of the games of this era had. But, yeah, it is what it is. You also notice that there's not a 64 in the official title. The game is just called Castlevania, and happens to be on the 64. That's just a little thing I like about it, unlike many other games of its generation. Yeah, so that's it. Not that's it, as in it's over, but that's the intro. I'll tell you more about myself later. This playthrough, I am going to be playing as Reinhardt, which we'll see in a minute, because Carrie can kind of just run around and shoot homing fireballs that hit things no matter what, and you can just kind of do whatever and win fights. Also, Reinhardt's a little more traditional, just Belmontish. I'm also playing it on normal, and the play is mediocre. I tried to actually do a real playthrough at first, but then toward the last few levels, you'll see me use a few save states and such, just to save you guys the monotony of me dying over and over. I chose this game because there's a lot of things that I liked about it. Initially, it was a game that kind of got me back into Castlevania, or made me fall in love with it in my adulthood, I guess. And I bought a lot of the games, kind of went on a collecting spree. This is important, we might, well, semi-important. Yeah, Transylvania, mid-19th century, Wallachia, blah blah blah, Dracula comes back. Also, you'll see the scrolling is going faster and he's talking. And it will just skip the whole last section here because he doesn't talk fast enough to say it, which is another emulator issue. Probably the worst sound desync thing in the whole game. And yeah, that's it. Anyway, so yeah, this is a game. When I started playing it, brought back a lot of memories of me playing Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest on the NES. I didn't actually own it when I was young. I would just go to the grocery store down the street and rent it and run around collecting hearts, trying to buy a better whip, and randomly stumble into a mansion or two and maybe get the rib or something. But that was a lot of my game Castlevania experience growing up, was just running around doing that. But I had a good time with it, so playing this made me really explore a lot of the other games in the series. And at the time I was more into action games, so I had a lot of appreciation for them, which I probably wouldn't have had when I was, 8 years old. So anyway, you see us here in a forest. If you're stupid enough to run up to the trees while they're still falling down, they will actually hit you, just like trees in real life. There you'll see I just picked up the knife, which is a subpar sub-weapon, and I just missed a simple jump. Also, this game, if you notice, uses red jewels instead of hearts. The only one in the series to do that, besides the whatever the Genesis one was called with the spear guy. I totally Bloodlines. Also used red jewels, I guess maybe just because of I don't know, it's easy to make a red looking jewel out of polygons, I guess, easier than a heart, or just doesn't look as weird in 3D when you're playing the game. So yeah, it's raining outside of Dracula's castle in a forest. I came here to kill him because I'm a Belmont, and that's what I do. Actually, I believe I got the Japanese copy of this game. I'd have to look in the manual, but I'm pretty sure his name was actually Schneider Belmont instead of Reinhard Schneider. But, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so what else can I tell you about me or this game? At the time, initially I think this game had fairly good reviews, but then it started getting hated on pretty bad. And in general, I don't know, maybe in the last few years people have appreciated it a little more, but at the time it got quite a bit of hate for a lot of reasons that I feel were unjust. A lot of it was the camera, issues with the camera. But really, I don't feel like the camera is that much worse. Pretty much on par with most other games, of the era. The camera doesn't do anything. And you have a button, to recenter it behind you, just like you do in Ocarina of Time or whatever else. So it's not really that bad. Or people complain about the hard jumps, which, go play any of the Castlevania games before this. And maybe those two things, if you're not good at working the camera and you're trying to make hard jumps, could be annoying. But, it's not meant to be an easy game. It's meant to be a platformer in 3D, not a run around and collect stuff like many other games of the time were. So this is the first kind of, mini boss, which is right after the gate. They teach you how to use your whip on like 3 skeletons, and then they make you fight this guy, which you can see I haven't been counting, every 3 hits or so he actually does damage to his life bar. The more powered up your whip is, or the crappy little knives take like 4 or 5 before it actually does damage to him. He can hit his own skeletons, which is cool. And now he's gonna just run away. And I have more jewels. So yeah, besides the hate on this game, but because of those issues that I think were kind of really non-issues. Yeah, look at him run and hide in the river like a wuss. Anyway, this was I believe the Castlevania game that was released directly after Symphony of the Night, which completely, changed what people's perception of a Castlevania game was. And I feel like if it had been released, 6 months or a year or something before Symphony of the Night, people wouldn't have had near as much of an issue with just it in general and the way that it tried to do things, because it is a fairly good transition of a Castlevania game into a 3D environment. Yeah, there's a lot of skeletons. That was a moon card that I just picked up. If you see the little clock up there in the top left, it's nighttime right now, and the minutes are moving. I think an hour of game time is equal to a minute of real time. If somebody has a stopwatch or wants to watch the clock on their computer while you're watching this or something, you can see if that's true. Now it's day again. But yeah, anyway, the moon cards take it to from daytime to dusk, and then there's also sun cards that are red that will bring it to from whenever you are at night to dawn. I think initially there was supposed to be a lot more differences between night and day, and you were going to have to be kind of careful where you were at during the nighttime and plan ahead a little bit, but none of that actually made it into the game. The only thing the day and night mechanic actually does is there's some doors that are sealed, and you can either only open them at night or only open them during the day, and it just makes you use a card if you're standing by it, or you can just stand there and wait if you're not getting attacked, or you can just whip guys until 8 hours passes or whatever. There is a different ending if you take too long, but you kind of have to try to get it, even just playing through the game. Your first playthrough, unless you just spam a lot of cards, you're probably not going to get the bad ending. That was a were-tiger. You only see a few of them throughout the game. They like you saw, pick you up and slam you down on the ground. There's a power up. Right now my whip is all the way powered up. It really doesn't change very much other than having a little more red color to it and being a little longer. What you saw me do there, I went and I flipped a switch and it opened this gate that was locked. And that's kind of what this first level is. It might seem like kind of a maze when you first play through it, but really it's kind of just a bunch of branching paths that you find a locked door and you go flip a switch and then you go back to the door. And there's a few variations on that, but pretty much you do that like 3 or 4 times, and that's a level. But it serves as a decent introductory level. You fight a lot of skeletons and a few other enemies thrown in, and and I'll use the axe, which doesn't do a lot of arc. It's kind of, the way that an axe works in regular 2D Castlevanias doesn't really transfer to this. But you can hit things higher up, and it does quite a bit more damage, and uses, another heart, I guess. The blue skeletons that look like a bomb will, totally just run toward you and then explode like a bomb. And the cross is one that I've never used. Pretty much during this game, I always use the holy water, just because I like it the best, and it does a lot of damage on a direct hit. But playing this now, I used the cross a few times, and it's actually better than I remembered. You can throw it, and it'll hit a few enemies. It'll hit one going out and one coming back, and does at least as much damage as the axe does, even though it takes 5 hearts, which is kind of steep. The holy water, I think, only takes 3, but it really helps with your range stuff. Like you see, I use it there, and then it hits that guy and then comes back to me. So I could see why people would want to use that during a playthrough, depending on your style. You might be wondering why I decided to do this game instead of the Legacy of Darkness game with Cornell. Kind of because I think everybody likes that one better, and I think this one shouldn't get overshadowed. I think it's wrong to look at that game and think of it as like a better version of this game, because they're really different in a lot of ways. It's not a 2.0, or it doesn't have everything this game has plus more. It's kind of just the same engine, and it has a couple of the same levels, but like the villa level that you'll see in a while is the same map, but you go through it in a completely different way, and you have different characters, even though you can unlock Reinhardt and Carrie. But really, it's a completely different game, and they're too different to judge as, the same thing, but the other one's better. And I kind of just liked this one, so I decided to do it instead. Also, I've just played this one a lot more. So yeah, who am I? And why do you care? And why should you listen to my voice? Well, like I said, my name is Jude. That is actually my real name, and yes, people sing to me a lot. Not as much as I used to when I was growing up, but still every once in a while. Although the name is getting more popular. I heard somewhere by like 2020 it's supposed to be one of the most popular boys' names. And in the last, 3 years or so, I've just personally known several, like 3 maybe, couples, I guess, that have all had babies and named their boys Jude. So it's probably not all because of me. It's some greater trend going on. So there might be more of us in the future, because up until recently, I've only met like a handful in my life. But yeah, I come from the Fantasy Strike forums. That's who's probably going to be doing the rest of the commentary, and probably the only other ones to even watch this. The one random guy on YouTube that sees this like 4 years from now. Hey, what's up? I hope you enjoy it. I got to the Fantasy Strike community through the fighting game community, which I did. I guess I started playing fighting games competitively in like 2003. Did that for a few years, and then was out for a while, just because of life, and then did it again for a little bit, like when Street Fighter 4 came out, but I really don't like Street Fighter 4 that much, or really any of the games that people are playing right now. Plus, school and work and whatever makes it hard to put the time into it that I should, so I haven't really been doing that much. Anyway, I grew up playing video games ever since I was, 6-ish years old or something. I vividly remember my friend getting an NES, and I would go over there fairly often and play it, and it was awesome, and I wanted one. Even though the first 4 pipes in Mario Brothers felt like climbing Mount Everest, and I was always so happy whenever I made it past them. And you have your 2 buttons, and you have to look down to see which one is which and whatever, but I really wanted an NES for my birthday, and my parents brought me home an Atari 2600, which was a little disappointing at the time, but now it was, I see it as very good for me, because it had at least like 30 games with it. A lot of the classic ones, like Combat and Pitfall, and all of the good Atari games that you should play. So it was really good for me growing up. I did get an NES, shortly after that, not too long, another year or whatever. And still have it, but have been playing games ever since, and bought most consoles and have kept them all in the games that I've bought for them. And kind of, I don't know, consider myself a connoisseur of games. I feel like I've always enjoyed the medium and interacted with it a little differently than my friends. But I can talk about that more later, I guess. It's just, I enjoy design and just other aspects, and just, I don't know, video games as a medium. But anyway, so yeah, growing up, I played a lot of games, and was kind of bad at them. But during high school, like junior high and high school, was, well, I graduated in 2000, if that gives you a time frame. So, you know, early, mid-90s was definitely like Super Nintendo RPG, kind of the height of all of that. So I played, I mean, the first RPG I ever played was like Dragon Warrior on the NES, but ones that I actually played all the way through, you know, like obviously like Final Fantasy 2 and, well, 4 and 6 and Chrono Trigger and, you know, Secret of Mana, all of the good Super Nintendo era RPGs were what I spent a lot of that time doing. After I got out of high school, I kind of switched more toward action games just because I had less time to invest in things. So I started playing like more like Castlevanias and Contras, and, you know, obviously I played Mega Man and stuff a lot when I was little, but I started to enjoy that aspect of them more, and especially like the first Castlevania and those kinds of platformers that take or just action games in general that take a lot of time and practice, but you see the practice pay off. I had a lot of appreciation for, because I could sit down and play them and just not have the same time investment. Here you'll see the holy water at work. The actual burning from it lingering just does a little bit of damage, but if you hit them with the vial and it explodes, then it does a lot. Yeah, there's me skipping some platforms. The platforming in this game is really not that difficult. If you hold jump, you'll grab the edge. You'll see how I jump up this. It's just kind of jump straight up and grab the platform and jump straight up, grab the next one, and you don't even have to hit over, so there's no risk of you like jumping off unless you're just trying to, I don't know, make it more exciting. Well, except here, I lied, you have to jump forward, but in general, most of the platforming in this game is not near as bad as what people made it out to be. So yeah, I talk about the Fantasy Strike forums. I guess it's time to do a few shout-outs. First off, shout-outs to Morn for the idea for doing a Let's Commentary series in the first place. He did an excellent one with Castlevania 4, and if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. Also, just shout-outs to everybody on the Fantasy Strike forums in general for good conversations about game design and so forth. Also, shout-outs to Specs for doing shout-outs, and a great Let's Play that he's doing on Phantasy Star 4, which is a game that I never played because I did not own a Sega Genesis until much later in my life, and I've still never actually played any of the Phantasy Star series. But it was an extremely good game, which I feel bad for missing out on now. So if you haven't watched that, you should watch it too. It really had a lot of aspects of other RPGs that I've liked since then, but had mechanics and things that weren't around in some of the other games I was playing at the time that made them very interesting. So yeah, I've been running around here hitting some switches, still in the forest. There's these mausoleums that have graves that I don't know about eating, you know, a chicken leg out of a grave, but I don't know about eating, not much better than eating one out of a wall or a lamp, I guess. So I'm flipping another switch here. And I think I'm actually through most of the level. I've been thinking about what I need to say here and not really watching myself too much. But yeah, the first level's kind of straightforward. You just flip switches and you go, and that's that. So here I am, going through this gate. We'll see what's up here. I already fought the werewolf guy, which is like the other unique enemy in this level. They jump around a lot. I don't know why werewolves need to do jump kicks, but that was what the design people for this game thought would be good. Also, they had a cool idea to put skeletons on motorcycles, like that. Because why not? But anyway, here's our skeleton friend that ran away at the beginning. He's back, and pretty much the same thing as before. He hits the ground, brings up skeletons, and I hit him a few times, and then he runs away. The holy water really doesn't do much to him because you have to hit him high up, so this is a fight that you would want to use one of the other sub-weapons on if it was actually difficult, but it's really not. I think I might get hit here in a little bit, but it's just because I'm being lazy. If it was actually... he lost his hand there. Kind of feel bad for him, but, whatever. But yeah, he can run you over. It's probably happened to me so far, but really, this game, at least on normal, but even on hard, where it's the same game, you just, enemies take more hits and they deal more damage, but you get so many healing items throughout the course of the game that unless you're just really standing there getting hit for no reason, it's really never an issue. I don't think I've ever played through this game, even on my first playthrough, where I didn't have like a full stock of, all 3 different healing items. So yeah, you can see he just lost an arm there. He's falling apart. There's actually a few other bosses that come apart as you hit them. And now he's, just sitting there getting burned. And I'm pretty sure his skull opens up, and I've had stuff inside it before. I don't know if it's just a random drop or what, but I don't know. We'll see if that happens here. I think I pretty much hit all the main points of things I want to say, which is good because this is the end of the level. Look at my cool, whatever you call it, that's in my hair spike there. And ominous gates of Dracula's castle open up to let me in with their cool 2D chain. You get a good pan of Reinhardt's awesome fashion sense and cool boots as he walks into Dracula's castle. All like, what up, I got a long whip. We have a dramatic pan out and fade. And yeah, that's all one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.